Good morning, everyone. Welcome to April's Thinking Thursday. Can't believe it's April already. This month's topic is using ad hoc memberships and what they can do for you. So we are going to look at setting up ad hoc memberships, and then the different reports, the different updates that you can do in bulk. So I did put this in with the Zoom chat. If you are interested, we're not going to go through all of the ad hoc update guide, but there are some in here that we are going to touch on. So that is from the Learning Center. And then as well, if you want to search for ad hoc memberships, the Maintain ad hoc membership is a good resource to have. A lot of just setting it up and then if you need to edit them. So we will look at that as well. Again, we're not going to go through all of it with a fine tooth comb, but if you want it as a resource, both of those are available in the Learning Center. So, what is an ad hoc? So, I know during our trainings we've talked about ad hocs and so forth. I never knew what it meant, so we had looked it up and it means when necessary or as needed. So, think of ad hoc memberships as groups of students. When we think of, memberships, we think of membership codes, things like that, but your ad hoc memberships are groups. Um, and your students can be in multiple groups. So, some ideas or things that you might use ad hoc memberships for would be like your senior class. You might have certain things that you're doing for your senior class, whether it's updating, seals, it's updating graduation dates, things like that. So, you might have something for them. A popular one is JVS students. So if you are the homeschool, you create an ad hoc for those JVS students that are going to be transferring out the next year, or the second year. So you can do multiple things like changing their calendar in it as a in a bulk. Um, so that's a popular one. Clubs and groups, those are popular as well. Some use it for sports, some use it for different clubs, like NHS, things like that. So that might be another reason. Grade levels. You might have an ad hoc membership for a specific grade level. Now, I'm going to give you a tip if you are going to use these for grade level. Don't call them first grade, second grade, third grade, because what happens next year when those first graders move to second grade? Um, so you would want to name it like class of 2025, that would be your seniors, and so forth. So then each year you would just be modifying those kids that moved in, moved out, and so forth. You might use this for gifted and or CCP kids because you can assign ad hoc memberships by course sections. So, you might have a group of CCP kids and you can create the ad hoc membership that way. And then for JVS, you might use this for your homeschools. So you might create different ad hoc memberships for each of those homeschools. Some of the reports do have the option to pull in or filter out, I should say, the homeschool, but you can also have those ad hocs for other things. So, what are ad hocs used for? Like I said, bulk updating. So, there's a lot of things that we can bulk update through an ad hoc membership or just through the ad hoc function. So, there's a bunch of things we're going to go through some of those to see how those work. It also allows you to add memberships in a group. So, for example, our gifted kids, we might want to add, some gifted membership codes to them. So we can do that as a whole instead of doing them one at a time. And then running different reports like our transcripts, things like that. We can also do that by ad hoc membership. And then one thing that is very popular to use ad hocs for is transferring the JVS students. So when you transfer in bulk, it only allows you to use an ad hoc. You can't pick and choose kids individually. So it's nice to have that ad hoc created so you can bulk transfer all those students to the appropriate JVS. And then when we're working in our easy query, we can also filter out by ad hoc. So if you're trying to get a list of students, maybe you just want your CCP students and you need their home addresses, you can filter out your ad hoc group and just get the addresses for those students. So those are some ideas and some uses for ad hocs. So now let's start looking at creating. And I look through some of your ad hocs. Some of them are very old. They might need to be cleaned up. Some of them are newer, so you guys are currently using them. But so I'll give you some tips and things along the way. So, at creating your ad hoc membership is with your account. So, if you look at your navigation under my account, you have something called ad hoc memberships. But even though this is something that I'm creating, we're going to think of this as a team approach. Because when you create an ad hoc membership, you can make it public so other people within that building can also see it. And notice I said building because when you are creating your ad hoc memberships, you should create them at the building level. Okay. So, if I'm at the high school and I'm dealing with, creating a senior group, so I can do different things to seniors, but there's another building secretary or the guidance secretary, I would want them to be able to use that same group. So I'm not going to keep it private just for myself. I'm going to make it public so that that person can also use it. So again, I'm at the building level. I'm in my current school year. These are ad hoc memberships that I have created. So these are ones that I have and they are active. Now, if I click on public and private, it's going to show me mine, plus it's going to show me others that have been created within my building. So again, it's a good way to share with others. So you guys are not all creating the same exact ad hoc group and having to maintain it. That's the key is you have to maintain it because if a student withdraws, they don't just automatically disappear. You would have to clean up your ad hoc memberships. Okay. The other thing that I do want to point out is that ad hoc memberships are never truly deleted. When you delete them by using the trash can, they are just made inactive. So if I delete my SYI, I'm going to delete that. Are you sure you want to delete it? I'm going to click OK. You'll see it's off of my active list, but once I uncheck active, these are all of my inactives, and you will see that I have that SYI, um, that it's there so that if I want to reuse it, I can. So if I click on it, I can make it active again, hit save. But now it'll be active with the green dot again. So again, they don't officially delete, they just become inactive. Students can be in um, multiple ad hoc memberships. So there might be a kid that's in drama. There might be a kid that same kid takes CCP classes, and that same kid is going to go to the JVS part time. So they might be in three different ad hoc memberships, and that's okay. They're allowed to be. However, when you are creating ad hoc memberships, make sure that you are including students that are in your building. So, those of you that have multiple buildings, when you're creating those ad hoc memberships, make sure you're creating them with the students within that building. Okay. So, I know I have some admin people on here that have multiple buildings. Okay. So again, you can create new. So if I create new, it's going to ask me to name my membership, or you can modify an existing inactive one. Okay. So all of these are inactive. If I wanted to modify it, I would just click on the pencil. So it could be an active or an inactive. Um, because like I said, there is no way to actually delete them. So that's why I say try to reuse them. If there are old ones in there, you can make them inactive to clean out your active view. But for example, you might want to reuse this one. Instead of it just sitting here, I can reuse this one for my new one. So we'll click on transfer. Okay, so there's one student in here. Maybe I don't want this student. I'm going to remove the student by clicking on the trash can and I'm going to rename it. Okay, but if you are starting from scratch, you would click on that green button that says add ad hoc membership and it's going to take you to the same screen. So I am going to call this one Snow White because this is going to be my ad hoc for all of my dwarfs. Okay, so
And
those are my
Shelley,
students. Yes.
in regards to the deleting, there's no way to bulk delete either, correct?
No.
Okay,
Nope.
that was a
You're not
question.
you're not actually deleting. You have to make them inactive.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why, yeah, reuse them if you can. I know a lot of people have, when I was looking, people have them from like 2012 and so forth. So you just, like I said, make them inactive and then just start reusing those, clear the kids out of there and reuse them to kind of clean up that list. So I'm going to make this active. I do not want to make this private. Okay, so I'm not going to check make private because now if I make this ad hoc membership, Rebecca will also be able to see this if she goes to the high school level. So again, if you're going to share with others or there's multiple people working with students, make sure make private is unchecked. So right now I don't have any students in my ad hoc membership, so this is blank. Once you start adding students, they will be listed here. But I am going to click on show search. You might already be seeing this. And there are three, um, oh, no, there are two different ways that you can add students. You can use your search criteria so that you can filter out, and a lot of it is populating from the student's profile. So, you can pull by grade level, you can pull by, names, things like that. Or you can do student IDs. So if I do student IDs, um, I can just copy a list here and I can paste it. So if you had a spreadsheet of students maybe that are going to the Career Center and you have all of their student IDs, you can populate that here. But if I have a search criteria such as my 11th graders or my current 10th graders that I know are going to the Career Center next year, I can go to my additional tab under my search criteria and I can just pick a grade level. So if I say I want to see all my 10th graders and hit search or save, sorry, nope, I wanted search. And why do I always call things with names at the bottom? I need to always call them with A names. And here's my Snow White. I'm going to go back in there. So I'm going to pick on my 10th grade and hit search. So before I hit search, there's a couple different things that I want to point out. So there's this box here, student selected by default. If I check that and I have it checked and I'm searching by 10th grade, that means every single one of my 10th graders are going to be checked to be added into this ad hoc membership. That's great if I'm doing this for my seniors and I want all my seniors in there, or if I'm creating grade levels. So, my first grade, my second grade, my third grade, I would want everybody checked. But in this case, if I'm doing JVS or something like that, I might not want them checked. Now, you'll notice if I go to my student IDs, notice that that box is checked by default because it's assuming since you are putting that student ID in there that you want them as a part of this membership. So it automatically checks them by default so you can add them quickly. Okay. So I'm going to go back to my search criteria. I'm going to look at my 10th graders and I'm going to hit search. So everybody's going to be listed here. It's going to show their student ID, what grade they're in, and their student status. So if I wanted students, I can just start checking on them, and then I could say add to membership. Okay. So I want to show you this because I want to show you the difference with my replace membership. So I'm just going to add those two students. I have Ben and Anita. So we're going to add them to this membership. And you can see I now have those two. But this membership is for Snow White, and I just wanted to include her dwarfs. So I might come up here and search by a name. If you want to use a wildcard because you're not for exactly sure how to spell it, this checkbox is your wildcard. So I know when we're typing in student search up here, our asterisk is our wildcard. When using the search criteria, this is our wildcard. Okay. So if I search for dwarf, I'm going to hit search. Um, where are my students? Did I not spell dwarf right? Um, hold on 1 second. They should all be seniors. Thank you, Trisha. Okay. So sorry, I still had my it doesn't automatic unless you save and close out, it doesn't automatically clear any of your search criteria. So thank you for pointing that out. Yes, so be careful with that, especially if you're doing something with course sections, things like that. All of that information stays unless you actually save and close out and then come back in. So yes, and it doesn't matter what tab you're on. Even if you leave the tab, it keeps that search criteria. So gonna say, I know I have dwarfs in here. So here are my dwarfs. Notice that there's not a select all. So if you're searching for a large group, that is where this comes into play. So you have to decide if you want them all selected by default or if you don't want them selected by default. But remember, I added these two students earlier. Okay. Well, this ad hoc is just for these dwarf students. So I'm going to select them. We'll pretend that there's multiple kids in between. But this time, instead of saying just add, which would add to this group, I want to replace. So once I click on replace and say add students, notice it removed Anita and Benjamin and only put the new ones that I had checked. So that is the difference between those two when you're searching for your students. So your add will add to the list. Okay, so it'll give you more. And then replace is automatically going to give you that trash can so you can remove them. So, for example, if I selected kids, now I have this one student. Well, Sneezy goes to the JVS. I only want my active students in my building. I don't want any JVS students. So, if I accidentally add somebody to a membership, or you've added them and they need to be removed from a membership, I'll click on the trash can and it removes that student. Okay. So then if I go back to my membership list, okay, so I'm going to go back to my Snow White. And if I click back on my edit pencil, it brings me in. Notice when it brings me in, it is showing my members or my students. So if I need to add more, if I'm going to do any tweaking, I just need to click where it says show so that it'll bring up the search criteria so I can find more students. Okay. So it doesn't disappear. You can still add more. You just have to show. Okay. So let's look at some of these. So things that you might do is, by last name. And under our additional, a popular one is by grade level or grade level next year. So those are popular. Bigger buildings, if you have multiple counselors, you can create ad hoc memberships by counselors. So if you just want to create something by a certain one, you can pull up any of those. If you want to create a membership for your language learners, you can pick out your language. So miscellaneous information, okay, so you can pull in those um, EMIS situations, percent of time, things like that. So maybe some of our JVS kids that are going to the Career Center 50% of time, you might want to pull those in. Different things that you might do with those students. Grade level is a real popular one. Some of these aren't as popular, but they are available. Student status is listed here as well. So maybe if you want your um, residents attending elsewhere for some reason, you can have those. Then you can also do by courses. So, for example, if you have CCP students. So you can pull in your courses. So you would just start typing in a course and you can pull in that course. And if you click on the ellipse or the three dots, you can actually pull in those students from that a specific course section or multiple course sections and grow a list of all your students that are attending CCP. Okay. And then you also have assessment data. So if you have a specific area, so maybe you want to see kids that have accelerated in your ELA2. You can pick the performance level. So if, they're fours and fives, you can pick those and you would only see those students and search by that. Okay. So there's a lot of different things that you can search for when you're trying to create your ad hoc memberships. Okay. And I'm going to cancel that. Are there any questions with creating or deleting, making them inactive? So there is no difference between clicking on the garbage can and going to the pencil and unchecking active and clicking save. They do the same thing. Okay. If there's no questions with creating, hopefully you have one created that you can use. So I'm going to continue to use Snow White. So now let's look at some things that we can do with our ad hocs. Okay. So underneath management, there are ad hoc updates. And like I said, we're not going to go through every single one of these, but there are several that we can use in here. So um, these actually, which is very strange, these don't all require an ad hoc membership group to be created to be able to update. So some of them you can do without it, but it is considered an ad hoc because, again, remember ad hoc means when necessary or as needed. So if I need to, quickly update something, I can come here to my ad hoc updates. So ones that are used commonly are our student profile bulk update. So if I click on that, you'll see that it has a lot of the information from our student profile. So this one, I do have to pick my ad hoc membership and I have to check that. Because I did not make it private, it doesn't show in the list without checking that. So that is the only thing when you do make it public every time. So see Snow White is not available. If I check it to show my public, I now see Snow White. So when I go in here, different things that I can do. A popular thing is changing their calendars. Um, so if I want to change their attendance calendar, so this is going to be my seniors, so they get done early. I want to change all of my seniors so they're on the senior calendar. Okay. And then I can keep going through all of my tabs. So you can see a lot of these things are pulling from that student profile. So the student progression track or the building progression track is also listed on here. So if you have a group of students that you need to update their progression track, if they require a paper copy, we're going to move on to, okay. Most things, if you're working with memberships and things like that, especially if you're working in the 25-26 school year, it will automatically default to the first day of school. Notice because I'm in the current school year and I'm adjusting their calendar, it is asking for the start date. Okay. So graduation year, um, grade level next year, any special ed coding, student status, I can update. So if I need to update these students, so maybe instead of, the active students, I have a, senior category, or I can update my JVS students. So if they're JVS residents or JVS part-time. So a lot of things that I can do here. Um, Go to my next tab. This is my FS standing. So I can pull any if my EMIS situations, if they're going out for CCP classes or they're going out for JVS classes, I can pull that in here. So you can see my sent to reason looks just like the FS standing from the student profile. And then my FD attributes, my EMIS grade level, any disability conditions. Maybe I want a group of 504 students. I can do my free and reduced students. Here is my reporting calendar. So remember, if my attendance calendar is set to my seniors, I also need to make sure my reporting calendar is set to my seniors. Okay. So remember, those need to match. There's always the analytic hub, so you can compare those two to make sure that the attendance and reporting calendar are the same. Okay. I'm going to go on to next. Okay. So here are my FN attributes. So if I want to pull out, the fiscal year for beginning ninth grade, if I have any CTE students, so my dyslexia, this is a great one for my elementary. So if you're working with your elementary diagnostic results, so you can bulk update them. So if you have a group of on track and a group of not on track, you can bulk update their reading diagnostics codes. And then graduation. So our graduation, if you need to change any of, the graduation date, you can include in there the diploma type. So maybe you have a group of students that's going for the honors diploma. So anything that you can change individually in the student's profile, you can also do in bulk if you have that ad hoc membership. Okay. And then the last step is to review. So before you're actually going to apply this, you are going to review it. So I'm on my review tab. It's telling me I'm going to change my attendance calendar to the senior calendar effective today. Okay, so it's going to go create the attendance pattern for my 12th graders with the reporting calendar of the senior calendar effective again today. So if I am ready for that, once I hit submit, okay, it's updated. So now if I pull in one of my dwarfs, If I look at their profile, okay, so here's my attendance calendar has been updated. And then my reporting calendar has also been updated. So it does that all for me. Okay. So now that we have a student in context, we're going to look at graduation, something else that we can do. So if you look here at my student, there's no graduation date here. Okay. So we want to update this so we have that graduation date in there. So I can do it through the student profile bulk update, but I also have something in here called update graduation dates. Notice I also have one for diploma type. So again, you have both of those. Those are both available in the student profile bulk update, but they are also individual. So if I go to update, notice that I can do it by a whole group of students, so I don't have to use that ad hoc membership. So if I want to do this for all the 12th graders, all my JVS residents, and all my um, uh, non-residents. So if I want to pull those over, I can. But in this case, I just want to do my ad hoc membership. So it's going to say, so I switch tabs. It's going to ask me what ad hoc membership I want to use. So check your box. I forget that every time. I'm going to click on Snow White. And then this is actually going to create a file for me. So it's asking me what type of file do I want. So not only is it going to generate a spreadsheet for me, but it's also going to update their profile. So if I want a CVS, which is a spreadsheet, I'm going to download this. I am going to pick my graduation date, which is May 23rd. It's my son's birthday. So easy to remember. So if I wanted to override the existing dates, I would keep that checked. And then notice I have a run type of verify and a run type of update. If I just leave it at verify, so I'm going to click on submit. It's going to download my file. Notice it downloads it like an easy query report. And notice it's going to have this information. So it's going to say, okay, it's verifying that I want to change all of these students to this graduation. Nothing has happened in the student profile yet. So it's showing me my previous graduation dates and it is showing me what it is going to change to. So I'm verifying everything, making sure that it's okay. If I look back at my students, I'm going to close out of that without saving. I look back at Grumpy and I go back to their graduation tab. Notice their graduation date has not been filled in yet. Okay. This time when I go through my update graduation date, still by my ad hoc membership, I'm going to do the same download, my CSV, sorry. And then I'm going to put my graduation date in, and this time I am going to update it. So now that I have update, I'm going to hit submit. It's going to show me same spreadsheet. Okay, so everything looks the same here. Nothing was previous. Now my current is the 23rd. But now if I go to Grumpy and I go to his graduation tab, it has now completed that in there. So the verify allows you to just double check all those students, making sure, and then updating it allows it to actually update their profile. Any questions with using the ad hoc updates? So again, this goes through all of them individually. Just a couple other ones that I want to touch base on. So those are probably your main ones down here. Counselor updates is another one, as well as homeroom and lockers. So those are also available. This college credit maintenance management, I did not learn about this until recently, but as you have CCP classes, this is a way that you can enter the credit earned by those students taking those CCP classes. So you can see here, when I click on my courses, it's going to have any that has been marked as a CCP class. So if I click on my advanced bio, uh, and then my course section, it was my 9. Here are all my students. So far, they haven't earned any credits, but if all of these students have earned credit for the CCP class, or maybe all of my dwarf students have, but nobody else has, and then they've earned 3 credits. So once they've completed the class and they've earned the credit, now I want to bulk assign and save the selected. So I'm going to say bulk assign and save. And now in advanced bio, they've completed it first semester. They've received their 3 credits. So, and notice this one, I'm not using ad hoc membership. I am using it by course and then bulk assigning it this way. Okay. You can make bulk updates to courses. And then I'm not sure, the EMIS person probably works with the fall initialization, but that is also in here as well. Okay. So again, your main ones that you are going to use is your bulk student um, profile update. So you can pick anything from that student profile and update it as a group. So we're going to look at some other things that we can do with ad hocs. So our next thing we're going to look at is easy query. So our easy query in reports, if I do assist student search, so that's one of our popular things that we do in easy query. Notice that I can filter out my students by an ad hoc. Okay, so that is the very first tab of my filter criteria. So if I want to send this just to maybe my seniors, I just want to send this to my CCP students, maybe my gifted students, I need an address. So if I come here to my ad hoc, I'm going to pick on my ad hoc membership, and then I'm going to go to my field selections. So I want the student's first and last name, um, maybe their grade level, and then I want their mailing address. So I do. Okay. And if you want the primary contact's name, so maybe you want you want to put, instead of saying to the parents of, you want that actual the parent name, so you can pull in the parent's first and last name or email. So any of your EMIS situations, you can bring those in as well. And then I am just going to move on to finish this. Download it as my CSV. You can see all my fields that are going to populate. And then when I hit finish, did I not hit finish? Zero students found. How are there 0 students found? So it should populate a list of just the students in your ad hoc membership. I'm not sure what I did. I'm sure I picked something. But it would populate. So if you have your senior list, see if I can, let me close out of here and try this again. Let's pick my students, first name, last name. Let's do it simple. There might not be any data for addresses in there. Okay, let's just move on. Not sure why that's doing that. Mysterious things happen to me all the time. But that is one way that you can use an ad hoc. Um, Other things that you can use it for are your reports. So many of your reports allow you to run that report based on ad hocs. So sometimes you want to run maybe transcripts just for a group of kids, and you're typing in all their student IDs. So let's look at our transcripts. So if I'm looking at this for my students, okay, so you would pick everything. If you have your load setting created, you would, use your load setting that you normally would use. So if I have this one, so you pick what you would want displayed, just like you normally would. But then down towards the bottom, okay, instead of putting in student IDs, you can pull an ad hoc membership. So whether it is, for the entire, I mean, you can do grade level. So if you wanted a specific grade level, you can do that. Um, uh, no, this one's for school years. Where is the grade level? So I can do my active, my non-residents. Oh, I'm thinking report cards. I'm sorry. So we're on transcripts. So transcripts, you would, if you just want to do your seniors, you can pull in just those seniors by using your senior ad hoc membership. So if you're doing report cards, you can pull in just the grade level. So then in here, in a report card, you might not use just that ad hoc membership for a grade level. Um, so looking at this, oh no, here's my grade level. Okay. So, but I'm going to do this for, let's say, oh, I got to check my box. I want just maybe it's my JVS kids. So I just want to pull in my JVS kids. Sorry for all the scrolling fast. So if it was my JVS kids, I can pull those in. I'm just going to use my Snow White kids, at which they don't have any grades. So maybe I should use I think it was this group. And then I can run it that way. So if I hit submit, it's only going to look at the ad hoc, even if you have different grade levels selected. Just like if you have a student ID, it doesn't matter if you have all grade levels selected, it's only going to find that student ID. Same with your ad hoc membership. So I'm going to pick this one up and it should just pull in those JVS kids. I only have a few kids that have current grades, so we'll see what it displays. Well, it's going to be slow today. Okay, we'll come back to that. So other ones, and I'll check that here in a second. Other ones are report cards. So if you want to run a report card for a certain group of kids, maybe you're running a report card for just your CCP kids because they finished at a different time than everybody else. So you want an updated report card for them. You can pull in your ad hoc here. So if it's just your CCP kids, then that becomes available so you can print that out. You can do this for your schedule cards. So, if you have JVS kids that are going part-time to the JVS and they're part-time at the school. So you just want to print out their schedule cards. So that's the R701. You can also do this for your class lists. Not sure you would use the ad hoc that much for your class list, but you can, as well as your honor roll. So your honor roll you can create. So this might be, we had this instance yesterday. Um, Even though you can pull out homeschool here, at the JVS to print the honor roll for a specific homeschool, you might have created an ad hoc for maybe your homeschool 10th graders and, or sorry, homeschool 11th graders, and you just want to use that ad hoc. You can do that. So, or you can pick homeschool and then change the grade level. So again, the ad hoc is created to kind of help alleviate trying to click some of these extra things as you're going through them. Let's go look at our, see if it completed. Okay, so then here were my students, that my JVS students. So here's just their transcripts. So you can see as we go through, that's theirs. Okay, so again, it's not going to pull everybody's, it's just pulling who was in that ad hoc group. Okay. Another one that is often used with our ad hoc memberships is our bulk student transfer. So this is typically used with our JVS students. So if we're transferring them to the JVS. So when I'm in my bulk student transfer, so or if you type in transfer, it's my bulk student transfer. It only allows you to select an ad hoc group, so you can't select students individually. So if I have my ad hoc membership for my students that are going to the JVS, okay, what year am I going to make them available? So I'm going to make them available for next year. I would pick the district that they're going to, and I'm not going to go through this process because I don't want to transfer fake students there. And then I could actually, then I can go through the bulk transfer. Okay, so this is typically what should be done when you have those 10th graders this year that have been accepted and have committed to going to the JVS for next year. So again, the only way that you can transfer them in bulk is with that ad hoc membership. Okay. So another thing that is nice is adding membership codes to students in bulk. So I'm going to take my student here out of context. Actually, you know what? Let me put them back in. So if I look back at Grumpy, okay, I want to look at his student memberships. Okay. Now these are our actual memberships of like program codes. So these are our program codes that are reported to EMIS. So you can see that he's on the swim team and he's in intramural. That's old, but the athletics. Okay. Well, he is now, maybe he's taking gifted classes or he's taken some CCP classes. So we need to add additional student memberships to my group of students that are taking CCP English. So I'm going to type in memberships in or membership in the go to. And there's two different ones, and we're going to look at two different ones. So one is called copy an ad hoc membership to to memberships. I know, I wish they would call them ad hoc groups because then you can kind of separate them a little bit more. So we're going to say, okay, this ad hoc membership. So again, this is great for our CCP kids, our gifted kids, things like that. So I'm going to use my dwarfs again. I'm going to say next. And then it's going to say, okay, this is the membership that I'm using or the group. When is the effective start date? Okay, if there's a staff member, but what membership group do I want to put them in? Okay. So, you have you have your special ed, you have gifted, you have graduation. So you have all of those things here. Normal membership codes that you would have, they're all listed here. So maybe this group, we're going to pick a graduation pathway, and this group has, we'll just say, has met the alternative competency with English CCP only. Okay. So I'm going to click on that. Okay. So once I hit copy, and you notice it was going to the 24-25 school year. So if I look at that now, I'm going to go back to my student, edit my memberships. So here is that membership code effective today. Okay. So now let's go look at my 25-26 school year. So if I look, ad hocs are, I guess, not, I want to say not school year specific. Ad hocs are when you create them, no matter what school year you create them, they're in all of them and they automatically update. So as I add something, it's automatically going to add it to that student as long as that student is has not been deleted. Okay. So you can see it's by default, it's saying all assignments, all years. If I want to see current assignments, it's going to show just the current ones. Okay. So again, as I'm adding these, and because it does not have an end date, it will automatically populate for that student. Okay. Now, if you have something that you want to copy, so you have something that does have an end date. So there is something. So I'm going to go back to membership. So student copy membership, this will copy as long as they're in the same building. Okay. So again, as long as they are in the same building, you can copy this membership over. Okay. If they are going from the middle school to the high school, it will not copy that. Oop, and I want to go back to my 24-25. Okay. So notice in here, I'm not picking an ad hoc group. It's copying that membership over. Okay. So that's why I wanted to show you the difference between because both of them use the word membership. So this is copying the student membership or that the program code from one year to the next as long as they're in the same building. Whereas my previous one, that copying the ad hoc membership to create that membership code for that student. So I hope that's clear because this one is also listed in my ad hoc updates, but it is just updating that student membership code from one year to the next or copying it, where this one is actually applying it to that ad hoc group that you have created. Okay. Okay. Any questions using ad hoc reports or sorry, ad hoc memberships, either through bulk updates, through our different easy query reports with our student search, or a lot of our reports. Okay, most of these allow it. Thank you, everyone, and hopefully using ad hoc memberships will save you guys some time.